is this just fantasy, or is this the Savage Sword of Conan, issue 2 by Titan Comics? Well, they fixed a lot of the issues that I had with the first issue that they put out. Yeah, I have that video up talking about that other people brought up about the printing issues for the interiors, the kind of toothy paper, bad print job, looked bad. But this one looks so much better, and I like the stories in it more, or the main Conan story. I like it a lot more than I did the last one. I was very excited to have the opportunity to get the Nick Marinkovic cover because I'm a huge fan of Nick's art, very specifically because of Dead Romans. If that's a book that you're not familiar with, I highly recommend you pick it up. I'm pretty sure it is in trade at this point, and there's more of it coming. And just imagine that Conan cover, but extended throughout an entire comic. And I, for one, am a huge fan of it. I think it looks incredible. It's just super stylish. It's kinetic when he needs to make it kinetic for action purposes. I think the colors are great. And I think the stylization of the figures is just really lively. And honestly, I would love it if he did a Conan story. Give this guy the opportunity to do a Conan story. He will draw the fuck out of it. The main reason I haven't talked about Dead Romans yet is because, technically speaking, it is not a fantasy comic. There's nothing fantasy about it, sadly. So it's just a historical fiction piece, which is awesome. And it's about Roman soldiers fighting the Germanic peoples in ancient times. And it's just an awesome book. And I highly recommend it. But anyway, had to get the Nick Marinkovic cover. I think it looks awesome, and I'd love to see him work on more fantasy / Conan stuff. Right away, the interior of this looks great. The just the detail that we get out of this map and everything is a sure sign that they had fixed the printing issue. And here we're getting kind of a look ahead as to what to expect coming forward. And so we have 2 stories here. We have Conan Leaving the Garden by Jim Zub and Richard Pace. Jim Zub, who's the writer of the main Conan book for Titan, and Richard Pace, who's somebody I wasn't familiar with as much, but I'm a fan of today because of this book. And then, of course, we have a continuation of Patch Searcher's Solomon Kane story and some write-ins people have done, and then a couple of pinups by Raphael Kanan, Gerardo Zaffino, and a Solomon Kane later on by Nick Marinkovic. So lots of greatness in this book, I think. I think it really works. So let's get right into it. So here we have that first Conan piece by Raphael Kanan. And yeah, if you can imagine that Belit piece from the last one, and then compare it with this, it's no contest. It's crazy how much better this is. And then, yeah, we get this really, I think, creepy and intense story with Conan here. And it starts off with him digging his way from being buried alive. Which, that's a dark place to start for Conan. And yeah, he's digging his way in a storm out of a hole in the ground. And I mean the Richard Pace art is really intense. There is a kind of that feels just very kinetic. Like I can feel the speed of the line work coming in here. We're going like just, yeah, there's an energy about it, and I think it works and looks great, and I think they really did a good job doing like a black and white story in this book that feels like it was designed for black and white. And mostly it is mark making. Occasionally there is like a zipatone or kind of texture tone to applied, but for the most part it is just straight up like mark making and using kind of tactile tools. But anyway, Conan digs his way out of a hole, and he's weaving his way through several burial mounds, and then here we get our jump back, and it's interesting because we start off with a really intense scene, but then we come back and we get it. It's a little more open, a lot more white on the page here, and Conan's basically he's a mercenary doing like a guiding job, or a job where he's making sure these rich people and their stuff get from one place to another, and he seems like he's even like creating a nice rapport with these people. And yeah, and we get a good looking Conan. I think Richard Pace is just he's got a good handle on rendering the character. It's very traditional comic Conan, and and he's just doing all sorts of really great stuff here. We get a sense of the space, sense of the environment, and good look at all these different figures and characters. Conan's got an axe this time around. Because sometimes he's got a sword. And here we get a cool little look at a sunset. And he's invited to be a part of the party and celebration because he was planning on leaving before they got to their destination, and he ends up like doing an arm wrestling competition with this dude. But in the midst of that, they are attacked. And it's really, so this story, it spans over a really long stretch of time, like a surprisingly long stretch of time. Oh, by the way, here's what I was talking about, kind of like the screen tone / zipatone type stuff. It's just thrown in there, little bits here and there. It's not everywhere, but it does kind of give me vibes of old school Conan the Barbarian / Savage Sword of Conan from the old days. So yeah, this feels like a at least how it's drawn, like a story that I could see in a definitely like a later issue of Savage Sword. But yeah, they're getting attacked, and then we get this awesome splash of these really gross like they have like weird mandibles and shit and all these weird gross growths on them, which that's an interesting way to do it, is to leave the spaces white for these kind of like lesion looking things. I think when there's a lot of like gray and black on it, that just helps it stand out and makes it look gross. And these guys, they're attacking the horses, they're attacking the people. So yeah, it's bad news. And some of the line work, because I don't know, just the like kind of directional nature of a lot of this line work, it makes me think of Andrew Cronky's work on Bloodrick, which I did a video on the first issue of Bloodrick. And wait, no, I might have done them on all of the issues. Yeah, I think I did an episode on each of the issues of Bloodrick. That's a great book. Definitely buy it. But here we have this really great splash. Really good use of a splash page too. And I love this great swing of the axe and the head coming off here. Just a fountain of black looking blood. And that's a great panel. I really love that. If I could get a nice clean version of that, I would love to make that like a thing on the wall. So I just love that. It's such a cool action-y moment. But yeah, they keep fighting these guys, but they seem to ignore like pain and death, and basically everybody is massacred. and eventually it's just one dude, Conan and another guy, and then eventually they get overwhelmed, and Conan just gets essentially buried alive, and then he wakes up, and I'm going at this at a pretty quick pace because it's just generally covering it, but also I don't know how much more of how more like granular I want to get with it, because I feel like this is a good product. It's a good story. I think the captions by Jim Zub really add a lot of character to the story, and just add great context to it, and even do some parallel storytelling with the imagery, because the best caption stuff does that. The best captions aren't just saying this is what's happening and then you're seeing it. It's adding more that you can't see to the story. Anyway, yeah, he's made it out, but he's got a horribly injured leg. He's got like a big arrow or stick or something breaking out of it. That's a great image right there. Like trying to get a coherent face through all of that like rain and like all that line work. I think he's done an admirable job. I think it looks great. Yeah, and then he gets down this ditch, hiding under a fallen tree. But yeah, he's pissed, and he sees this. He thinks he hears somebody coming, and it's a little boy. And then we kind of get this really cool sequence where the little boy kind of leaves Conan and passes this like stump with all these weapons in it, just setting up the landscape of this story. And then he seems unfazed by these horrid creatures. And he's able to understand them, which is another kind of weird, gross thing. Yeah, and I love how loose this is. The drawing of it itself. I think that looks great. And he comes home, and everybody's kind of getting gross and warty, and she tells the boy, like, what are you missing for? You need to say you're sorry. And he supplicates himself in front of this big gross spider thing in this giant building. It's like, okay, all of this is setting up a great story, as it were, with Conan. And basically, if you want to know the rest of the story, I say pick up the book. But basically, he has to like heal himself, shore up his strength. He creates this relationship with this kid that's actually really great. It's really sweet. It's almost I would say it's paternal, between him and Conan and this kid. And it pulls at your heartstrings, and then also it's got some great action in it. And I think this is absolutely a massive improvement from the last issue, especially as far as this Conan story goes. It is so much better. And you get crazy shit like this. Yeah, fantastic. And a big bearded Conan. What more do you want? It's awesome. Yeah, it's just killer action, amazing looking art, and yeah, Conan just looking great. While I have your attention, please consider supporting the SideQuesters Kickstarter going on right now that supports the next 2 issues of the book, issues 9 and 10. This is a collection of the first 8 issues, which is the first story arc. This is the first issue. I have these up here because I don't have copies of the new issues, because that's what I'm kickstarting, is a print run of these books, because more people are actually wanting to have the physical copies of it, and so I need to make more of them. Hence the Kickstarter. It all makes sense. If you haven't read SideQuesters yet, this is a perfect time to start, as there are many tiers that have the Volume 1 attached to the new issues. If you have read SideQuesters, you can now support the creation of the next two issues, which is the start of the next story arc, and it's the tale of their first mission as a team or as a unit on their own. And I'm very proud of the issues, and I can't wait for people to be able to read them. There's actually a preview up on Global Comics right now if you want to check it out, just to see what's coming. And yeah, if you could check the link for the Kickstarter, which I have included, please consider supporting it, or telling a friend that may be interested in it, or several friends, or everyone you know. I'm telling everyone I know. Along with copies of the new issues of SideQuesters, there are also sketch cards available, as well as some exclusive mini prints, which all, the sketch cards, I'll be drawing them myself. You can also add a commission onto it if you want me to draw something specific. And there's copies of Haxan that you can add to it, which tie into the SideQuesters universe. If you want to be a completionist and get everything that exists currently is set in this universe, you can get it. But if you just want to check out the link, maybe consider supporting this Kickstarter. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you. I love it. Okay, and then we're back with Patch Zurcher and his Solomon Kane story. And the Solomon Kane story continues to be great, like gorgeous looking art. His art looks even better in this issue than it did last, and that's just because the printing's better. But even his work looked really good last time, so it's just a testament to his skill. And yeah, I just think that this is great. And it continues the story, and what's fascinating about it, I mean, this is awesome, and I think this whole scene is great, and we're getting kind of the sense of what these things may be. There's this strong connection that's being made between what he's facing and Welsh mythology, including characters like Gwydion and Aran, and it's like all this pagan stuff. And I love all that stuff, so I'm super into it and seeing where it goes. But it's a pretty short installment, and apparently it's going to conclude in the next issue. And yeah, just some dark shit going on here. But Aran himself shows up with his like hunting party. And yeah, that's exciting to think of Solomon Kane versus Aran. But he's got to do what he's got to do. And here's that Nick Marinkovich image of Solomon Kane, which is awesome. Anyway, that is our latest issue of Savage Sword of Conan. Here's a hint at what's coming next. Looks like we got some Carrie Nord in here, and I think that's fascinating. Like, I want some more of that. That looks fun. So let's see how savage the next issue is. This issue was actually pretty savage. I support it. And again, more Nick Marinkovich, please. And this is available at your local comic shop. So just go ahead and get this one. This one, they did it right.